Welcome to episode 63 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies, plus tips, apps, and gear. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and yes, I am back. We were off for a few weeks. I was on vacation and other things that were going on, so really glad to be back in the saddle here, and I found it fitting that why not get a new episode and talk about Macstock 2019 that just concluded this past week. What did I do? I was able to interview at least 7 of my friends that have been on the show before, and one person has not been on the show yet, and he may come onto the show in the future. But they all gave their thoughts about Macstock 2019, and so you'll be hearing interviews from Mike LaPlante, Dave Hamilton, Kelly Gumont, Mike Potter, John F. Braun, Guy Searle, and Chuck Joyner, and I will have those as part of this episode. So this is a little different than what I've done before, having this a direct interview between one person. So what the heck? We'll give you a little bit of a taste of a different way of this podcast goes, and we'll see how this goes. I will give you some one news story. We'll talk about iOS 13. Beta 5 was just released this past week as I record this, and we'll give you a brief review of my presentation at Macstock about Apple Notes and note-taking apps in general using iOS. So let's dive right in and just talk a little bit about what's happened with iOS 13. And Beta 5 has come out, and it does have a lot of new things that it's added. A couple of big complaints that were of the fact that some of the icons were really small, but they finally added in the view where you can set it to have app icon sizes to either more or bigger. And I looked at this and I'm like, well, they should have been bigger in the first place, because the iPad home screen, it needs to be big. So the other thing they did was the share sheet in both iOS versions. Updated with adding sections to your favorite shortcuts, the current app that's open, and other actions, which is cool. They've really done some great things as far as the layout with the share sheet. So I'm looking really forward to give you more of a comprehensive review on that. Home app backgrounds, you're actually gonna be able to change backgrounds that way. Shortcuts app that's going to be changed, of course, and of course the light and dark mode feature is really cool. They've really made quite a difference in that as well. So I'll have a link in the show notes of the article that I talked about with from Mac Rumors about iOS Beta 5, and we'll go from there as far as hopefully this is getting close to a new version that's going to be out soon, and we will see where it goes. Macstock just concluded this past week, and I was just super excited to be able to see all our friends and see all the new faces that came out to Macstock this past year. They did announce Macstock 2020 for next year, and this year's theme in 2019 was Create. Well, next year the theme is going to be Play. So kind of a spin on what that will be. How do you play? It will again be at the end of July next year, 2020, on July 25th and 26th. So I am super stoked and really looking forward to having some good times with that. My presentation was great. I had a lot of people say that there was a few things that they didn't know about the Apple Notes app specifically, and really I think I'll spin it out just for a little bit here, just to tell you that OneNote from Microsoft, a lot of people don't use it very often, or if at all, for that fact. It was really interesting to see what folks said as far as what its use is. The biggest differences between Apple Notes and OneNote is the way it lays things out in Notes, where it creates an actual notebook. It also creates a section and also creates pages to make things little more advanced as far as how you organize things. So, and the other app I did touch upon briefly was Notability, and I have to say I have to learn a little more about Notability. Notability has got some great powerful features in iOS as well. Of the three that I reviewed, of course, Apple Notes and OneNote are free. Notability is not free. That's $9.99. So I think what we'll do as shows come on here, we'll do a little more comprehensive review of Notes and dig it into a little deeper, because really what I want to do is, like I said, we have a special treat here. I want to make sure that you guys get to listen to some of the great interviews I had with all the folks that were at Macstock, and giving them their views of what happened at the show, all of the fun we had. And I may not necessarily be talking about everything iOS, but really I thought it'd be fun to get back here and listen to some of the great people that are part of our Apple community and telling us all about what they thought about the show. So with that, we'll go right in and dig into the first interview. We're going to start off with Mike LaPlante, and you'll just hear consecutive interviews with each of the folks as I spoke to them live when I recorded it during Macstock 2019. And I hope you enjoy, and we'll be back at the end of the show and we'll close things out. Hi, welcome to In Touch with iOS. I am live at Macstock 2019 and doing some interviews with a bunch of the folks. I, of course, spoke at the conference earlier yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday. And I spoke about Notes and iOS and kept that focus. My guest and returning guest, I should say, is Mike LaPlante. He's here at the conference. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing very well, Dave, and yourself?
Doing great. How'd you like the conference so far?
So far, the conference is pretty good. You know, I have to be honest with you. I enjoy your talk. Probably was one of the highlights because it's so practical. When you're giving your talk, people in the audience are literally following along. And
I noticed that, and I think that it was kind of exciting to see that. I think my mic is a little hot here. I'm turning it down. I noticed that. And that makes it exciting for me when I present to see that people are engaged. And I picked a topic I think everybody really likes, and Notes is very very popular using in iOS and Mac for that matter. But I talked about Apple Notes and then Microsoft OneNote, what a lot of people don't know about too much of. So.
Right, unless they're at work, that's something that they would come across and use it there. But it's good that you also included that and compared the two apps.
Yeah.
And to see, which one someone might want to use as opposed to maybe just using Notes.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And did anything else you saw that related to your iPhone, iPad that piqued your interest? We're kind of halfway into the sessions here on Sunday, so
right. Nothing really. No. Like I said, yours was a highlight, and I kind of wish that this conference would kind of go that way.
Give us some more stuff, even though it's called Macstock. But Mac is obviously very important. But iPhones, iPads, they're pretty odd too. So I did my breakout session in the afternoon and got a little more deeper dive on some of the apps, because I did have some questions. People came up to me afterwards related to OneNote because it's a little different the way OneNote manages things versus what Apple Notes does. Sure. I'm seeing a lot of changes with Apple Notes. Hoping for the better with iOS 13 coming out. We'll be talking about that, of course. The future is here pretty soon here with iOS 13 and iPad OS. I got used to that.
iPad OS.
Yeah,
I know that's going to be very interesting.
Are you
using the beta?
Yeah, I put the beta on an extra iPad, not my primary one like some people do around here. I noticed a lot of people were taking the time.
Super confident.
They're really confident. Well, it turned out David Sparks and Rosemary Orchard, who both spoke. David spoke today.
Yes.
And then Rosemary yesterday, and she had her iPad on iOS 13 or iPad OS, and it wouldn't project to the screen. So.
No, and she ended up losing some stuff.
Yeah, there was kind of affected the workflow. So, it was interesting to see some of these folks that, and they asked me, have you tried it? And Notes is going to have some good features. I think the biggest thing I saw was the folders app. And you're going to be able to actually create subfolders on the fly from an iOS device, which you couldn't do
Right.
before.
Yeah.
And some improvements with searching and some other things. So,
But right now, if you create a folder on your Mac, they do transfer.
They do transfer,
in
right?
your iCloud.
Yeah, and I did show that yesterday, where if you create a subfolder for that, and it does work real well. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun, I thought, and we're really good, really having a great time here in Macstock.
Yes, we are. Now, iPad OS, is that following the same numbering scheme?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be. I think they're going to just now separate it out, and that was what the talk was at WWDC. When they announced it, they announced iPad OS is going to be the operating system of choice for just the iPad, because the iPad does certain things that the iPhone does not.
Right.
So I think this was kind of a smart thing on Apple's part to just kind of try to start isolating and separating out the two operating systems.
But are they isolating in hopes of later on making the iPad OS much more like the Mac OS?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't all be all surprised. I mean, that's been the goal, and truly making an iPad your computing device, and not no need for having a Mac. For a lot of people we were talking to here at the conference this weekend, and I don't see that anytime soon. But
No, it's a special group here.
it really is a special group. I mean, we witnessed two upgrades to one. Well, yesterday, Stephen Hackett from Relay FM, he decided to upgrade somebody's iMac to a with a solid state drive. I just could not believe he took the whole thing apart, and
Right in the
out here. I'm
building.
sitting next to the table that they were spread out on yesterday, and he must have spent a good hour through lunch to do this. And then this morning we just saw him do a Mac Mini, upgrading the memory. So.
I think he's doing something else on this lunch that we're going to be
Is he?
coming. I think so.
Oh, okay. So again, that's not related to our iPhones, but
No, it's totally
but he's
unrelated.
not going to do any upgrades to those. But
So do you think that once the iPad OS and Mac OS are not necessarily the same thing, but do you think that they're going to stop selling laptops?
no, I just don't see it. I think there's still going to be a market for it. I mean, just like what Apple did with the Mac Pro. I mean, they finally came out with a product for a professional
the pro users,
for
right?
pro users. I don't see the Mac changing anytime
So
soon.
obviously the MacBook's already gone. The MacBook Air, can you see that being replaced by the iPad?
It's possible. Air can definitely be replaced with that. So anything's possible when it comes to when it comes to that. So yeah, it's hard to say.
It is hard to
It's
say.
hard to say at this
Were you
point.
surprised when you heard about iPad having its own operating system?
I was. I mean, I had thought that I had thought for sure that iOS 13 was just the next iterations. Like we've gone from 5, 6, 7, all the way up to 12, and I was pretty surprised. But I think it's a good. It's a smart step to the future with iPads, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
going to be interesting. Maybe we'll find ourselves at an iPad stock event.
iPad, it could be. I mean, we would have thought of something here. Maybe we got to get you and me and Barry Falk as some brainstorming of an iPad stock or something like that. So, anything else you wanted to add into the to the mix as far as what you experienced here? It could be anything.
I believe that this is a great location, and the people that this event attracts really always amazes me. Like when we have the event on Friday night where everybody just kind of gets together and reacquaints themselves with everybody. It just the concentration of smart people that get here.
It is. It's amazing.
It kind of blows me away.
And you know what? And the networking. The networking is the best part of it. We've all made friends. I've made friends with you, Dave Hamilton, Guy Searle, Allison Sheridan. The list goes on. David Sparks, and now I'm friendly with him. I had not met him before, and
Sure.
he was here last year too. So he's a very smart man. I'm impressed of his And they did record the 500th episode of Mac Power Users, which is going to air out in September, which I think is going to be exciting to listen back to because we watched that yesterday, and just had a lot of fun with people. So
it's a fun event.
It is really a fun event. I'm hoping everybody can make it next year because for 2020 it's going to be even more exciting. So
I'll see you then, Dave.
All right, Mike. Thanks. We appreciate you joining me, and this is In Touch with iOS, and we'll have more interviews soon. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I am recording live at Macstock 2019, and I thought it'd be fun to talk to some of the guests, see what they thought about the conference, as well as anything that focused on iOS, of course. My next guest is Mr. Guy Searle from mymac.com podcast. How you doing, Guy?
I'm doing great. I have been recording a bunch of stuff,
yes,
too.
You have. And
you need me to get closer?
Yeah, you might want to get a little closer to the mic.
Hey.
Yeah. So what do you think of the conference so far? I think it's been pretty good.
It's been fantastic. Yeah, this is. I've got my 5-year pin.
I have my 5-year pin. Yeah, it's on my name badge here.
I think I left my badge and lanyard and 5-year pin at the hotel because
I was wondering. I did that last year.
I'm me. So
this time I made sure it was in my bag. So. And it's got the heavy. This 5-year pin was really nice. He gave it to all the speakers who had spoke 5 years in a row, which was me. And we've had a blast so far. Kind of unusual. I guess we'll have some discussions later this afternoon on iOS, but I guess I've pretty much been the only one that's really talked about it much. I guess Rosemary...
iOS specific.
Specific or iOS, right.
I mean, there's been some people that... You were talking about notes yesterday.
Yes, I talked about notes.
Or note-taking programs.
Right. Apple, but it was focused on iOS, so it's Apple Notes and Microsoft OneNote.
But it was also all, cross-platform solutions.
I did cross a little bit.
I can talk.
But just three. The only three I focused on was Apple Notes, Microsoft OneNote, and then Notability.
Yeah, and because there's nothing else out there.
Yeah.
Well, no, there really is.
There's lots more. I could have probably. When I started doing the presentation, I'm like, I'm not going to spend. I have 20 minutes on my intro, and I think I did pretty good justice with what I did.
No, you did great.
Yeah, with that. So I think people got what they needed, and then we did the deep dive later. So
and here you are recording a podcast with 2 microphones and an audio interface, and I look over at the desk that I've got my stuff.
Yeah, you've got like a mass amount of stuff over there. We were already playing with the Roadcast. That didn't work. That Dave Hamilton brought us, and but it brought for him, I should say.
It's so cool looking.
Yeah, it is.
It really, really
is.
is.
We can talk about it. We can talk about it a little bit.
Even in a non-working state, it still looks cool.
We can talk about that a little bit because that was really entices me is the fact that I can now interface it with my iPhone, and you've never really been able to easily interface a mixer of that magnitude very easily with Bluetooth and with iPhone connections that are right there.
Well, see, that was the cool thing about the Roadcaster is that if you have now it has 8 buttons or 10 buttons, either 8 or 10 buttons for built-in sound effects that you can adjust as you please. So if you want a button for your intro and another one for outro and whatever other and me, I'm a very serious person and I have no funny sound effects in my podcast whatsoever.
No, not at all.
None at all. So it makes it very, very easy to take the ones that you use all the time and put that in there. But in order to so easily also plug in something like an iPhone or even an Android phone, because it's just a 1/8 inch connector into the board, and be able to do music or whatever it is that you have on your iPhone that you want to use, and also to be able to use it as a Bluetooth device, and you can set it up with a mix minus. So if you're using your phone as your, call our number now, 1-555-1212.
Exactly.
Call us collect, call us direct, but call us today. Then you can use that, do a mix minus so that they don't hear themselves, but the audio from them is coming into the board and the audio from you is going out to them so they can hear everything, you can hear everything. The potential for something like this, it has been waited for a very, very long time in hardware. Now you're using an H6. Who makes that? A Zoom H6, which is just, oh my God, I am so envious of that device.
I really love this thing.
That is so cool
because I be able to record it, and you see, I put the pod on here, so I could take this as a field unit.
Yeah,
it's
and you've got two directional microphones right on top of the thing.
Yep.
I've got an IK Multimedia something Duo where it's got two XLR inputs and you can adjust the gain on them and stuff. But I mean, it's really, really basic. Anything I don't like about it, it uses proprietary plugs to get out from it. So I don't really use it that much. My setup is basically, it's a Behringer UMC 204. It's got two XLR outputs on two separate tracks, which is really, really nice. And of course, I've got some Sennheiser microphones and blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. But, it all fits into a backpack about the size of Cleveland. So, it's...
You should see the bag I brought. I got this bag of tricks here.
I know. But the cool thing with the H6 and so many other things is you don't really even need to hook it up to a Mac.
Right.
And it's been there's all kinds of wonderful recording options available in iOS to bring this back to iOS.
I remember you, and you've done it in past shows that you had your iPad was your primary recording device. And,
the last 2 years of Macworld, that's what I did.
It is very ideal. So, I think it's a great conference. A lot of. I mean, as I mentioned when I talked to Mike LaPont earlier, the networking. I mean, just friends I've made over these last 5 years. Got you and I are friends. Dave Hamilton and Mike Potter and Barry Falk, and I mean just all the amazing friends. Allison Sheridan. I can
the list goes on and
Chuck
on.
Joyner. I can't forget Chuck, of course.
Well, yeah, Chuck.
We gotta love Chuck. Come on.
Yeah, I know.
So just that part of it alone is just the best part. Is just the networking and having a lot of fun here and just staying on top of technology. And I'm open. I should talk to Mike Potter and see. We got to get more presentations on iOS. I mean, we're recording this on Sunday before the afternoon sessions, but there is going to be a session talking about recording with iOS. If we haven't already missed it, then I'm thinking about. But I probably should look at the book here, see if we might be missing it right now as I'm... I think we're missing it. Oh, no, it's 11:25. So after we finish recording, I have to go watch that because it is an iOS.
What is it on?
It's on recording videos with iOS. It's creating compelling videos on iOS. It's Rick Cartwright.
Who's doing that one?
Rick Cartwright is doing it right now. So as soon as we finish recording this segment, I'm going to go check it out, and we'll record some more segments here.
And very, very quickly, to talk about some of your options for recording audio. You've got Twisted Wave, which is a fabulous recording software. One of the things that I've really liked, and I don't know if you've got it on your iPad, is Boss Jock Studio.
I haven't used that one. There's another one I forgot the name of. I haven't started playing with.
But the same guy that made Boss Jock made this new one that I don't like as much, but Boss Jock Studio is available. There's also the free Spreaker app.
Okay, right.
And you don't even have to use their service to get the application and use it in a standalone mode. And even the Spreaker app for the desktop, for the Mac desktop, is amazing. It's really, really nice software. But all these different options that are now in iOS in a much more portable form than you ever would have seen, even with the light and tiny Macintosh computers. iOS devices, whether it's your phone or whether it's an iPad, are just so much smaller. And the future is really unlimited, especially considering that you've got the iPad OS that's coming out in the fall.
Right.
And a lot of the developers that make sound app or audio applications are going to have to rework them for not just the iPhone, the new version for the iPhone, but the new version for iPad OS. And so the future really is bright when you're looking at iOS recording, whether it's audio or video.
Yeah, it is 100%. So let's go check out that session. And our next interview, we'll probably talk about it. It'll be fresh in our minds. So, Guy, I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Hey, not a problem.
We always love having you, and we'll have you on again, do a full hour how I've been doing my show. And this is In Touch with iOS, and we're live recording from Macstock 2019. Thanks. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I'm live at Macstock 2019, and I've been interviewing different folks here at the show. And my guest this time is Mr. John F. Braun from the Mac Geek Gab. How you doing, John?
Very good, David. How are you?
Doing great. Been a great show so far. Been a lot of great discussion at the conference. What have you enjoyed so far at the show?
I would say probably one of the biggest draws for this here is, ever since Macworld Expo went away, which was where me and you and all the other Mac Cool kids would typically get together and socialize and share tips and all that stuff here.
Yep.
I would actually say the social aspect
It's been quite the consensus.
and networking also, just meeting new people.
Yeah.
But the stuff after hours and just they give us plenty of time between sessions where everybody can meet everybody else. I think one of the talks this morning was one that I enjoyed the most, and it was first off, it was a general approach on how do you solve a problem,
right?
And it involved there's the technical aspect, and then there's the maybe I should listen to how someone else would solve it. Things like that. He also had a little thing about code maintainability. The story was, I went to a conference and I learned this really new coding technique. So once I got back to the workplace, we all deployed it, and the code was smaller and more efficient. And the only problem is, unless you understood the thinking behind the process, it wasn't maintainable, and that's something very important with a lot of things. Is either document it or make it first off documented and then make it maintainable. Otherwise, you may have to rewrite it, which I think is what they eventually decided to do, is rewrite it in a style that was other people mere mortals couldn't understand.
Yeah, exactly. And we've had 2 live podcasts now. Well, actually now here with me 3, and then of course Guy Searle. You guys did a great show last night, Mac Geek Gab. That was a lot of fun at the hotel. Had a lot of your fans and a lot of the guests came out. We had a full room, that's for sure. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's always great to meet the fans. The live aspect makes it interesting.
Yeah, because it's not something you're normally used to.
The let me bring a setup that's different than I used to was interesting, and I don't blame my colleague Dave.
No, of course not.
He didn't bring what he usually brings. He brought some different devices, and like anyone, test your setup before you, don't assume that it's just going to work out of the box. I mean, that, was an initial concern, but Dave's an audio professional, and as it turns out, one of the devices that, was actually going to be a cool stuff found until it didn't. We just couldn't get one input. You were there. You were trying to help us with the cabling.
I was in
and
the
stuff
plan
like that.
C of the scheme of it all, so it was fun to be able to.
So we tried the tried and true way of solving it, of turning everything off and on again, and that didn't work. So we're like, okay, but he had a plan B. I think it was so he used a USB-C hub instead, and even that had a little hiccup, but we eventually got it working.
So we had a couple iOS presentations. Of course, my presentation that I've been talking about the Notes app. And then earlier today on Sunday, we had Rick Cartwright talk about the video apps for iOS. Have you used any of those video apps at all? That Rick, did you see this? I'm not sure if you were in the audience or not. But
not really. Yeah, I don't do much with video.
Yep.
Maybe I'll capture some of it on my iPhone, but I'd say most of the digital content that I make that's visual is
photos.
Almost all of it is photos.
Yeah, you had some good questions during Mac Geek Gab about photos, and a lot of people were rushing to come up to help get the answer quickly for a lot of the stuff. But it's fun, and that's what's great about the show, is learn a lot of things about the way it goes with anything that's in Apple and technology. iOS, I think obviously a lot of things have changed, and even other guests have talked about looking, the iPad could be potentially, a full-time device, not using a Mac.
I've always thought that aspect. I mean, some of our colleagues, like, David Sparks and all that. I always thought that trying to force the use of a certain device just because is not necessarily the right way to solve a problem. It's like, it almost seems that some people's mission was, I'm going to prove to you that I can use an iPad to do photo editing or movie editing, or, for a while, our friend Guy was, trying to do everything on iOS. And, apparently he found the right tools at some point, but, the iPad has its place.
It does.
But it's better now, you got the keyboard and things like that. They're opening up you can now read files from an SD card now.
Yeah, so much so, yeah. I mean, and with the advent of iPad OS coming out, and we were just talking about that, having that split OS between iOS 13 and iPad OS, I think it's going to be an interesting direction that Apple goes with the way iPad OS is going to evolve. I think. I don't know what you thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, for a while. I mean, I have an iPod and an iPhone. I think one approach was of some developers is you develop one app and then it is smart enough to know what type of device it's on and it changes its behavior accordingly, or you offer a separate app.
Right.
But yeah, I think they're breaking it out acknowledges that the iPad is better at certain tasks because of its size and the accessories and all of that.
That's right. You're a big iPod Touch user, right? You'd like to use that for a secondary device, or?
I got one for a project. I needed something inexpensive to record video when I was away from the device, and honestly, it was the best choice. I think I got a refurb for it. It was like under $200, and I mean, it performed the task that I wanted to accomplish perfectly. And also the setup. It's interesting. The setup of it was pretty fluid as well. I mean, it's basically an iPhone without the phone.
Exactly. And
it has all the other features. I mean, I was actually impressed. Like handoff would work. Like when I got a phone call, the iPod Touch would ring. And it's like, oh, well, that's because of handoff.
Because
on
handoff,
like that.
Yeah, and Apple, I mean, realizes that a lot of retailers, a lot of different companies find that those devices work better than other options. So.
And they just upgraded it. The one I got, the video quality and all the other things are interesting.
Yeah.
One weird thing happened though to share here. So Dave noticed that I was not showing up on his Find My Friends list.
Yeah, there you guys.
And he's like, "There's something wrong with your setup." It's like, "Is location services on?" And I'm like, "Yeah," I'm using location-based stuff all the time. Right. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Apparently what happened is when I got the iPod Touch a few months ago and set it up, the setup among iOS and also Apple devices now gets interesting because if it sees another device that you've already configured, it'll be like, hey, you want me to suck the configuration out of this, or you want me to interact with this device in order to figure out what to do? And apparently during that process, my iPhone thought that it would be a great idea to use my iPod Touch as the source of my location. So that's why he could never find me because, well, it's kind of far away right now.
Exactly. So, well, John, we absolutely love Mac Geek Gab. I'm a supporter of the podcast, and that's what you guys inspired me to do this podcast. And I'd love to have you on the show. That was I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to the folks and. Yeah, a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Okay,
John.
Thank you.
And thanks, everybody. This is In Touch with iOS, live at Macstock 2019, and we'll talk to you soon. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I'm live at Macstock 2019, and I am absolutely thrilled to have Dave Hamilton from the Mac Geek Gab on the show. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dave.
Yeah, we've been trying to catch up for a long time. We'll definitely have to hook up and get a full episode in, but this is going to be a short. Yeah, we definitely will have some good chats about iOS. But my sessions, I've interviewed about 3 or 4 people so far.
Cool.
And, we're just putting together some chats that let everybody know what they thought about Macstock 2019 this year.
Yeah.
How would you think so far?
I love Macstock. I come here to feel short.
Yeah.
It's one of the few places where there are a significant number of people that are taller than me.
Guy Searle,
Corky.
Yeah, Corky. The 2 other guys, Dan and Jason.
And Jason. Yeah. No, I am. I'm looking up.
Yeah.
I'm both figuratively and literally looking up to many, many people here, and that's what I love about this.
It is
the size of this show. To me, I think from a business standpoint, it's probably not sustainable, but it doesn't matter because we all just enjoy being together. It even 5 years in, it has that vibe of we're all doing this for the first time, and thank goodness, we get this opportunity to have, a couple hundred of us here.
Yeah.
Everybody talks to everybody else. There's no pecking order.
Nope.
There's everybody's equal, and because the reality is, no one here is more of an expert than anyone else. No. You might find, if you're lucky, and you usually are, you can find someone that's an expert in the one thing you need to know.
Yes.
And then you can return the favor by in the karma bank by seeing somebody else and answering their question.
Yeah.
And that that cycle just continues until we're all forced to leave.
I mean, my gosh, this is the 5th year of the show.
Yep.
I started in 2015, met you for the first time. Never thought in a million years I'd be a podcaster, and look what happened.
And now I'm a guest on your show.
And you're a guest on my show.
Correct.
And it's just,
it's great.
Yeah. I got goosebumps right now.
Awesome.
It's just an absolute thrill.
But in addition to being like a guest on your show, we're also friends. We talk and that's the beauty of this kind of vibe.
That's what it is. I've made so many great friends in the community, and then that's what I really absolutely love about it. Yeah. So, as far as iOS goes, I've been talking with everybody about my presentation. I think everybody got a lot of good stuff out of notes.
Absolutely.
A lot of people didn't know much of some of the things I talked about during the Apple Notes part of it, especially OneNote. And I even more now I've talked to more people about it. It's interesting. I like to explore OneNote a little further. I might even do it on a future episode. I don't know. But people realizing how powerful OneNote really is, and that a lot of people didn't.
I stumbled into the power of OneNote about 3 months too late.
Yeah.
We used, for prepping Mac Geek Gab, John Braun and I need to have a way to share PDFs in a form that is where I can have categories. Here's what's for the current show, here's what's for future shows, and notes up until iOS 13 won't have the ability to share a folder of notes.
A folder or collaboration.
A collaboration. You can share one note.
That isn't going to work.
No. So we standardized. We moved from a folder in Dropbox, which was how we did it originally. Well, not originally, because Dropbox didn't exist when we started Mac Geek Gab, but eventually Dropbox became a thing. Then we moved to Evernote because that was a better way to do it. And it was about 3 months after we moved to Evernote that I realized, OneNote could also have solved this problem. Yeah. In retrospect, I feel like we aren't having any problems with it. For what we do, Evernote actually is fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but on iOS, it's really slow. Really slow. If you have 10 years of notes, really slow. If I launch it, I have a couple of key notes in Evernote. Mm-hmm. Stupid things like a gig packing list. I'm a drummer. I don't want to leave the house without my cymbals, as I have done. So I have a list. It takes 10, 15 seconds for that list to come up. It should not, And so I feel like we should have standardized on OneNote, not Evernote. And maybe someday we'll move to it. But that's just how life goes.
And you guys still are on Evernote, or?
We are. Okay. The show we were doing last night, John and I were both had Evernote up.
Because you notice when people ask me, what about Evernote?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
no. Yeah, but I mean
to start, no. I mean, I have nothing against Evernote. I think Evernote was a great for its time.
That's right.
It's just the CEO really made the company crash and burn. The way their business model was, the way they charge for things. It just
I would not choose it today. No. I mean, I do, but only because of momentum.
Because you're already in it.
Because I'm in it.
Yeah, when you're in an ecosystem, it's really hard.
I would if I had to. And I probably do, but if I had to rethink what we do for Mac Geek Gab, I'm curious enough to wait until I can truly test notes on not just iOS 13 but also on Catalina and see how that works. Because if it will work, I'm in.
Yeah, we're all in.
But if it doesn't, I'll probably move to OneNote.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people are going, and as I explained, because I work in enterprise, and that's where it really is now. Is they want to use that, but the challenge is going to be, I know Microsoft is really pushing hard to go away from a standalone application in Windows, and a lot of companies are scared of that because of the fact that it's going to get embedded into an operating system. So you're embedding it in Windows 10. I'm like, really?
Yeah,
I mean, obviously they can't do that in Mac because
but will they move it to just a web interface?
It could be a web interface, and that's the thing I'm really scared about.
And so the other way I might go is Synology has their own, self-hosted. You put it on your disk station. Right. It's called NoteStation. Has a web interface. Also has Mac and iOS apps. So and has all the collaboration and it's an Evernote-ish clone that you host yourself. And so I like the self-hosted thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I'm not, beholden to anyone. Oh. Although I'm beholden to Synology to keep developing for whatever platforms I'm using.
Oh, for sure.
So, yeah.
And then the couple other things, was awesome. I got to actually witness Mac Geek Gab last night. We had an absolute blast. And I just talked to John Braun. He was this is a little out of our element. I understand, John, because you're so used to.
Yeah.
You guys have a workflow, and that's understandable. But you guys worked it, and Kelly did a great job of
Kelly stepping in
like that.
as the
and then I kind of
host.
stepped in with as the plan C for you for the equipment. And
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
So right, Kelly stepping in during the show. This was a team effort for sure.
Like a podcast roadie.
It was, no. Like you and Guy Searle, were it not for you,
we talked on
the gear would not have happened the way it did. Like this was definitely a team effort, and I knew that leaving home, that what I was planning on doing and how I was planning on doing it, and the live thing. If I only relied on myself, it probably wouldn't happen well, and so I sort of let go of being a control freak. It's just how I am, and told myself, okay, look, go and have fun with this. You have a plan. It probably won't go according to plan, and it did not go according to plan.
The
Roadcaster did not work.
Crash and burn. But
then my Mac decided to do a 20-minute software update when we were going to Plan B with the.
That's why I was close to C there with my Zoom.
With the Zoom, right? We were close, but I did a Mac to get Evernote up because on iOS it's flaky.
So it's all kinds of different workflows.
So, but my goal was to have fun with it, and if I was lucky, I didn't have to get home and record this week's Mac Geek Gab on Tuesday.
No.
And it turns out, you know what? We hit on every level.
Now I get to listen to it on Monday when
it's
it
all
gets
good.
Released. So,
yeah.
And then the other iOS kind of focus of the show was Rick Cartwright did a really nice presentation. I think he has his deep dive coming up pretty soon.
Yep.
I'm going to take a peek at that. I forgot all about LumaVision, that video app. I have it on my. I mean, I paid the $30, and I want to start playing with it. That's how bad
you never
I am.
did. No, I'm the same way.
I'm sure we're both the same way. That's why I finally decided to go with SetApp. I just talked to the guy from SetApp who's here. I said, why am I not doing this? I love apps, and I'll just. I mean, I got the discount code from Don McAllister, so we're set for 2 years. I'll be getting all kinds of apps for the Mac. So,
that's great. What's that discount code? What's the pricing on that?
I think it was. Gosh, I can't remember.
Okay.
It was really good discount.
Good deal.
Yeah, I think
okay.
I may have paid like $150.
Oh, for 2 years worth.
For 2 years
at $10 a month, that's a good deal.
Something like that. So, he talked about that, and then I knew about the Clips app, and people don't. That's like one of the biggest secrets that the Clips apps have. Mike LaPlante taking a picture of us as we talk here. Of course, I got to mention you, buddy. The Clips app is one of the best kept secrets. It really is. I mean, I know people think it's silly, but it isn't.
No, it's not.
It's got a lot of power to it. I mean, I used it just not too long ago. Somebody retired at our company, and I said, I was trying to think of how am I going to do this. I said, let me do it in Clips, and I had the background to look like I was in the Wild West, and I just, how you doing, and have a great retirement, and you can be that creative without having to reinvent the wheel. But the Luma Vision, is it Luma Vision?
Yeah, LumaVision.
I'm going to say it right. It's even better than iMovie, and I kind of agreed with what way Rick kind of analogy about iMovie. iMovie has its place, but
it's actually fantastic on iOS. But it's a box. It's the Apple box.
It's within its within its borders.
It's not the Pro version.
It's not. But he compared it to Final Cut Pro, which is a $300 piece of software.
Well, and LumaVision is like closer to that.
Yeah. So we talked that, but I mentioned a lot of other guests. I said there wasn't a lot more. I wish there were more stuff talked about with iOS. There wasn't as much. That's what I focus here on, and it's. I think it's getting there. I think people are just not coming to realize it.
Yeah.
We did have the topic discussion too. Is I'm so happy that Apple decided to segue iOS with iPad and iOS 13.
Yeah.
So iPad OS, I think I want to see what your thoughts are. I think it's a game changer. iPad is really going to become its own platform.
Yeah, I see iPad OS as both a future path, but also an acknowledgement that iPad is different from iPhone.
Exactly.
Right? And it's been that way for a while. In fact, there are many features of the current iOS that only exist if it's running on iPad, right? Yeah. Split screen and slide over. And those things, not only can you not do them on the phone, you wouldn't want to. The phone is a single view device, and that's fine. I think that's the size dictates that.
Yeah.
And so acknowledging this with a name change or a fork of the name, I mean, it's still it's just running iOS. Like it's all the same.
And it's hard. It's hard. I mean, as I was doing the demonstration when I did my deep dive, and I did have my iPad Pro 12.9, my first gen. I do have iOS. I was going to say it. iPad OS on and did the demo on it, but. And trying not to get in that thought process. Okay, this is a different device now, and I think Apple.
That's why they're doing this. That's right.
They've
embraced it.
Embraced that as well.
Yeah, it makes life easier.
But a lot of great talks. Oh yeah, we even talk. I haven't even mentioned Chuck's presentation yet. Chuck did a presentation on how not to do presentations.
Yeah.
And boy, has he gotten the heads of so many people at this show. It's hilarious.
I know.
David Sparks did his presentation.
Yeah, of all the people, like David Sparks is a master presenter.
Oh yeah,
I've learned so much from him about presentation and him getting on stage. I mean, it was all shtick, right? Him getting on stage saying, "Oh, if only I hadn't done a presentation after Chuck told." It's like, no, David, you don't get to play that card.
No, his presentation was amazing
as always. Yeah.
And then the Mac Power Users was awesome. To watch them.
That was great. That was fun to watch. That was a nice. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away because it won't come out till September.
But just saying it.
It was a nicely well produced. Yeah, and well thought out.
Stephen Hackett's an amazing guy.
He's a good guy.
And we talked about the iMac disassembly and upgrade yesterday.
And today
was the Mac Mini.
Yeah.
It's that's what this community is.
Yeah.
Just
before we recorded this, we were helping somebody with helping Frank Petrie with his.
I was scrambling to find a version of El Capitan. But it turns out that somebody says, "I'll take it," then we didn't have to do it anymore. So, but Dave, I would love to have you come back on the show. We got to hook up some time.
I'd love that.
And we could definitely talk for an hour easy about other things you and I have a lot to enjoy talking about, and we'll get you on the show soon.
Sounds good.
We'll try to coordinate your schedule.
My schedule is the problem.
Tougher than mine.
I know.
But yes. Anything else you can think about that stuck out with the show?
No, I think we've hit the highlights for me. Yeah,
great.
It's awesome.
Right. Appreciate it, Dave. And with that, thanks for listening, everybody. This is In Touch with iOS live from Macstock 2019, and we'll bring more interviews with you shortly. Thank you. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I'm live at Macstock 2019. Been interviewing all the great folks that have been here in the sessions, whether it be speakers or whatnot. And I'm very proud to have Chuck Joyner coming back on the show and joining me today. Get to see him in person and talk about Macstock. How are you, Chuck?
I'm great, David. It's great to see you.
Great to see you as well. It's been a whirlwind weekend. We've been having a lot of fun. What's been your thoughts so far? How the conference has gone?
I think it's just amazing. I mean, I end up at a loss for words at how much fun this is. As I was promoting Macstock on my show, I keep telling folks it's one of my favorite weekends of the year, and it really is. You see so many great old friends, you meet so many great new friends, and not just friends from the United States, but friends from all over the world are here for Macstock.
And that's been the consistent message I've been hearing from everybody we've talked to so far, is just the networking and just being able to reach out and talk to people, meet people. And I mean, gosh, 5 years. It's been 5 years already. And I just said this with Dave Hamilton, just previous interview, that 5 years ago I'm here meeting you guys for the first time, and never thought in a million years I'd be sitting here podcasting with you and having you on my podcast, and anybody for that matter. So it just, wow, 5 years ago seems like yesterday.
I know. I mean, when we started doing the interviews and realizing this was the fifth year, it's like, where did the time go? And yet, if I look back at my photos and notes and everything, each year had its own highlights. And I guess maybe the highlights of this year will become evident later, because this just feels like one big highlight this year.
It does. So a lot of the speakers have been great this year, and I've been talking a lot about, because I, of course, talk about iOS, and only two stood out, and obviously one of them was mine, of course, with the notes, and the other one was with Rick Cartwright, and talking about his working with iOS and editing videos. And I knew I knew Clips was one of the best kept secrets. I think I would really put the way I would put it for Apple. Have you used Clips at all when you do your video editing at all?
I've played with Clips a little bit, but I can't really say I've used it for any particular project.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are just kind of, some do, some don't. iMovie, of course, everybody's used iMovie before. I know you're a big Final Cut Pro user because of your video editing that you need to do for Mac Voices. And then I completely forgot about LumaVision. Of course, I bought it, like all of us do. We spend the $30 and buy it. But Rick was right. That app is very powerful, and I know you've had the guys on talking about that app too.
Yeah, it is absolutely amazing what they've done with an iPad. They've taken a full-blown nonlinear editor and put it on an iPad, and I'm not ready to quite say there's zero compromises, but there are very, very, very few compromises.
Yeah, no, there really isn't, and I think it's got a lot of power. We're going to be seeing his deeper dive about it in about an hour from now. I'm going to definitely jump in on that and see what Rick has to say about it. But that's what's great about this conference. There's just so many different topics we can be listening to and finding out about, and it's just an endless way of learning with all this.
Well, and so many of the topics crossed over. They weren't necessarily Mac or iOS or anything. It was just the theme of this year's conference was create, and so that meant so many different things to so many different people. Some of the messages really were David Sparks' messages, Allison Sheridan's messages about what create means to them or how they were interpreting it, and it took everybody, I think, a little time to wrap their heads around what Mike was going for, but I think that we all delivered. I hope.
We did. Especially you with your presentation about presentations and what you can do better to give better presentations. And there was a lot of laughs in the audience, as well as David Sparks. You kind of got him rethinking what he was doing. And he's a professional presenter. I mean, he's done his field guides about presentations. So I was very surprised he said that he was so worried about that. But it is true for a lot from what you talked about with presentations.
Well, the whole idea was to have a little fun with it, but also make people aware, make them think a little bit that, because we all do it. We get into a rut if we're creating presentations where we have maybe our favorite transitions or our favorite way of doing things. And if you break out of your mold just a little bit, not only will the presentation be more effective, but honestly, I think you'll have more fun doing them.
Oh, 100%. And we've talked. You and I both work in the insurance industry. I've seen the presentations that some folks insist on putting on, and the mass amounts of bullet points that can be a little boring, and the bar graphs that are can be a bit to be desirable, and even being able to see them for that matter. People don't realize you got to make them big in order for people to see these things, and you're not going to be able to see it on the screen if it's like a minute little tiny size.
Yeah. I mean, there's so few simple rules that even if you don't want to get sophisticated, just I know it's old hat, but well, let's do it this way. One attendee came up to me at lunch and said that in his department he has a simple rule: 5 by 5, no more than 5 bullets or 5 topics on a slide, and no more than 5 words per line. That's a pretty darn good rule that everyone can remember. So,
in fact, I believe that was my good friend who I used to work with. I believe
it was
Charlie.
Yes,
yes, because I remember many times him and I had worked together in a lot of presentations, and it's really that's a really good rule as far as presentations go when it comes to that. So, but they're just being consistent with it, and just don't have different fonts, don't have different bullets. I mean, you came up with some great examples of things you really shouldn't be doing.
Well, and the best thing was I told everyone I did not edit any of these slides. These were real slides from real presentations that I have endured, survived. So let's take a good look at them. And at some point it does become humorous because you just can't believe that they happen.
Yeah. So again, my presentation was on Notes, and we talked a lot. I talked a lot about Apple Notes, and I did show a lot of differences and some features. I had a lot of good positive feedback, which was happy to hear. A lot of people got some good tips out of things they didn't know, which is always is a good feeling when you do a presentation. I'm sure you felt the same way with yours, because like I said, every person that's done a presentation after they've seen yours have
I made everybody paranoid.
You made
David.
everybody
That was
paranoid.
not the point.
Even Rick Cartwright did it, and you didn't even in the room.
Yeah, that was the point.
Oh my God, this is misspelled. I don't think Chuck caught this.
But yours was really interesting. I mean, once again, you found features that I didn't know about, and Notes is a program that I use quite frequently, probably daily,
right.
Because it's one of my note programs of choice. And so to go in and see some of those features, it's like, how did that get by me? And boy, I know ways to use it.
And that's the thing. When I do these presentations, I have to get that out of that mindset of thinking that we have to not think that everybody's going to know what I'm talking about. I mean, I have to, even though it's out on the internet, I see it on YouTube. I mean, I even did it on the deep dive. I used an example of the. I brought the example of being able to set up in Notes on the Mac where you are able to float the window in front of your window so you can actually have the note sitting in one spot while you're browsing or you're working on something else. I grabbed that from a video on YouTube, and then when I just showed it in the deeper dive, I had done it on the fly, and that's how we do these presentations sometimes. While I was sitting in the audience waiting to come on, let me edit this, I'll show it instead of me having to go through and do the actual animation. Well, of course, when I recorded it, the sound from the video was on there too, so I'm playing it. Well, okay, I admit it, I used YouTube, but you know what? I can't expect that people are going to be. I mean, YouTube has billions of videos out there, and not everybody's going to find that information. But those are the kind of things that you finally realize that that the information's out there, and then you're just relaying it to people because they don't know it.
Well, and the big challenge, I think, is there's so much information out there. These tools are so powerful, and even the simplest ones have so many features that you have to. It's so tempting, and I admit I'm as guilty as anybody, probably more so, of dipping into, say, the top 20% of the features. And what we would all benefit from is spending a little more time investing it in that. If that top 20% does something for you, then by all means, dig deeper, because it probably can do even more for you.
So I asked this question to everybody that's been on so far about iPad OS and iOS 13. I think iPad OS was a smart move on Apple's part by kind of segregating iPad from iPhone and kind of separating out the OS. What did you think when Apple announced that?
So I want to make clear here that this is just a conceptual opinion, because I have not run any of the betas. Sure, I've seen the demos and run the articles.
Just the marketing, yeah.
But conceptually, I think it's a good idea, because the iPad is not the iPhone, is not the Mac. Right. And so treating them as separate devices, sure, there's some overlap, and the overlap is probably becoming more so with each iteration of each OS. Right. But I like the idea that Apple now, at least in theory, will not be wedded to the idea that we can't put this feature in the iPad because we could not implement it in the iPhone. Yeah, no. I like that. There's a certain amount of common sense. It was brilliant to have iOS out there as an iOS device. That's not what I mean. As an iPad and iPhone operating system, because your learning was transferable. Right. But now most of the people are ready to move on a little bit.
I think they are, and iPad, is going to be that. That's a lot of other people have been saying to me is going to replace your Mac, and I think we're as close as we have ever been. I did that presentation many years ago at Macstock saying, could it be a replacement device? Mm-hmm. Back those probably about 4 years ago, probably not so much. Today, it's almost there, I think.
Well, this is a topic I have strong feelings on, because I don't seek to replace my Mac. Right. If it happens, that's great. If my iPad is almost a replacement, it's still not a replacement. It's an almost replacement. Yeah. And so I just believe in buying the right tool for the right job. And if I have to engage in any compromises, I don't like compromises.
Yeah, I can't agree with you more on that. So, but anything else that really caught your eye with the show? So we're almost the show's. I can't believe it. We're almost near the end here. We've got about maybe 2 hours left until we wrap things up, or 3 hours here.
The only thing I will mention, and I don't think you've seen it yet. I just interviewed a young lady named Lydia.
I was sitting here watching.
Yes, who did an amazing little entry into the Macstock Film Festival. Okay. And she did it in, I think, the space, she said, of about 30 minutes last night. And it just blew me away because it was a great little quasi-demo, and just is so nice and sweet and sexy, and as far as the video goes. Yeah. And so yeah, that was like a real highlight for me.
It is just amazing, and then there's another young guy here that's here today, this weekend as well, and it's just to see these younger kids coming into this conference and to be part of it and being part of it with their family and with their parents and. Is really and you've interviewed many over the years during this conference, and I think that's one of the great things about this conference.
Well, and you make a real good point. This year, probably more than ever, we've seen father-sons, father-daughters at the show more than ever before, and it's so great to see that shared relationship and that shared experience. Yep. And you don't have that's not even fair. Absolutely, both father and child wanted to be here. It's not, I came with Dad, or Dad came because I wanted to come. They both wanted to come. They're both fully engaged and having a great time. So, and
I've seen husband and wives that are here, too. Because a lot of times you don't see that, and in most cases I don't. I see the husband's here and the wife is going on shopping.
Yep.
So there have been a lot more husband and wives that are here now that are engaging in the conference, too, as well.
Yeah,
so it's great stuff.
The audience is expanding, and I hope the word is getting out that how much fun it is, but how much great information comes. It's just across the board, and unfortunately, the way the world is, you have to admit, you have to take a look at what it's going to cost, and the return on the investment for this is just huge.
Oh, it's huge. It's huge. All right, Chuck. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. We definitely will have you on again soon for our long hour discussion, because we definitely have a great time when we get together and talk about iOS and anything relating to our technologies. And I appreciate you being on here.
Always fun, David. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. This is In Touch with iOS. I'm live here at Macstock 2019. Thanks for listening, and we'll have more interviews soon. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I am live at Macstock 2019, having an absolute blast this weekend, and I have the honor of having Mr. Mike Potter on, the organizer, the podcaster from Mac Eyes Only, and thanks for being here, Mike.
Oh my gosh, it's a pleasure to be here, Dave. Thank you for coming out to Macstock again, presenting again.
Of course.
You're such a big part of Macstock every year.
I appreciate that, and I'm proudly wearing my 5-year pin here.
That's right.
I can't believe it. 5 years ago, and I kept a few people I've already talked to about this, and just thinking back 5 years ago. So you and I met the first time, and I jumped up on stage, didn't know what I was doing up there, and look I am. 5 years later, I'm a podcaster. Presenter, and all that kind of stuff. So how do you think the show's gone so far? I think it's been just amazing.
It's just been phenomenal. Yeah. Absolutely phenomenal weekend.
A lot of great presenters, a lot of great activities that's been going on with the show, and primarily in iOS, and that's why I've been talking about, and I probably have to mention this to you because I think we should do more of this, is really there's only two focused presentations on iOS, which is me, of course, with me talking about notes, and of course Rick Cartwright talking about the video editing in iOS. Maybe we got to get some more.
Maybe so, but a lot of the presenters did touch on iOS when there's an app available. For example, Mike Schmidt's talked on.
That's right, Mike. Right? I forgot. Yes. Yep. Okay, so I guess I shouldn't be thinking that way. I'm really thinking because of the titles of each presentation have that kind of that focus.
Right.
But it had a lot of great positive feedback about the notes discussion, and a lot of people didn't know a lot of things I talked about with OneNote, which was great. Watched Rick's presentation, Rick Cartwright, and his video editing, and he is right about. And you're a video editor. A lot of people don't use the Clips app as much as they should. And
I have never once in my life fired up that app.
And that's a lot of people are saying. It's kind of funny. I had said this to others here. I said, I just fired up probably a couple months ago when someone retired, and I said, this would be probably pretty easy. I can
it's perfect for that, though, isn't it?
Throw videos, say, hey, congratulations, happy retirement, and that's what I did. And because we had pieced together a bunch of videos from all over the world for telling this employee
that's so cool.
To good luck with your retirement, and we all did that. Well, I did on the Apple Clips, but there were others that are probably a little more extravagant than I was. But
your Android friends weren't having any of it.
Exactly. It was a lot of great discussions. I just talked to Chuck Joyner, and his presentation really stuck to a lot of people freaking about their presentations, especially David Sparks, which was phenomenal by itself because he is a great presenter. I mean, he is amazing, and he's written the books and the field guides to prove it. So,
and of course, when Wally and I were doing the first segment of the Film Fest this morning, what's on screen? A big old cursor, which is exactly what Chuck said. Yeah. What's that doing there?
Yeah.
I couldn't get rid of it, so I just left it.
Because Chuck has never thought he would be stuck a thorn in a lot of folks and worrying about how to do presentations. So, I'm just been very pleased, and seeing a lot of new people. That's really excited me this year. I think they recorded the 500th episode of the Mac Power Users podcast, which was great.
That was fantastic.
We'll get to hear that in September. Yeah, so I'm not going to no spoilers here.
We've all been sworn to secrecy.
Sworn to secrecy. So and then we ended up having Dave Hamilton and John F. Braun do a Mac Geek Gab live from the hotel.
That was so cool because Dave reached out to me last week and he said, "Hey, I'm going to be able to make it to Macstock after all, and I'd love to do something with Mac Geek Gab." And I said, "You know what? You got the perfect venue at the hotel that night," and he jumped on it.
Yeah, he did.
That was so cool.
And it was great. And Kelly stepped up, and I don't know if you were in the room at all, but I don't remember seeing you in the room, but. Kelly stepped up and kind of emceed all the questions that were coming up, and I became a podcast roadie for him because he was having some problems with some of his equipment.
That's right. His brand new
Roadcaster wasn't cooperating.
That's right.
I had my bag of tricks here, as you see, and ready for Plan C, and the Zoom H6 ready for him if he had to. So
that Zoom H6 is a fantastic.
It really is. I love this thing. I know you have one too. So
I love it.
And this is the first time I've put the capsule on here in quite a while.
I'm using it for Macstock.
Yeah.
That's how I record the house audio.
And that's what's great about it. So, and it just works, and that's what's great about that stuff. So I mean, just overall, the show and the conference has just been amazing. The food was wonderful. We had some great meals both days.
We did. The lunch. Yeah, I always ask the culinary staff here to come up with something a little new, a little bit different, and they always come through.
Yeah, the wraps were really nice, refreshing
they were good, and they were filling too.
They were filling, the salads and everything. So overall, the show was just another amazing success. We have probably about as we record this, maybe about less than 2.5 hours left of the conference. So
that makes me sad.
I know, it makes me really sad. We have to go in and see the rest of the videos for the with Wally.
That's coming up at 5.
Coming at 5 o'clock. I'm definitely going to get back in there, and that's why I'm trying to get all the interviews I can, and have a great interview here with you. And I just can't believe it's over already, and I just have to get ready for 2020. I can't believe it. 2020 is we're going to be coming here.
You feel like you're working and working and working. You're like, oh, I got so much time.
Yeah.
Then you're like, okay, I have 4 more weeks, 2 more weeks. Okay, that's a lot of time. I can get all this stuff done in 2 weeks. And then suddenly, oh shoot, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then Macstock's here. You're running around, you meet all these fantastic people. We had so many new
That's
people
what I was going
to
say to you. I'm just floored how many new people that came up to me after my presentation and telling me they enjoyed it. And I think a lot of folks came from the audience of Mac Power Users, honestly. I mean, there's a lot of them I asked, how'd you come here? And a lot of...
they heard about it through them.
And they heard about it through Mac Power Users.
Stephen were talking it up. And, what's neat is that they would be coming up to me and saying, hey, Mike, this is my first Macstock, but I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be back next year.
I love hearing that.
And it's such a great environment because it's a conference for all users. It's not a power user conference. It's not a beginner user conference. It's
all over.
Everybody is here.
All levels.
And everybody is here to share that same experience of being an Apple user. And it doesn't matter if you're a Dave Ginsburg podcaster or if you're TJ. What is TJ now? 12? 10?
I think
12?
so.
Something like that. Everybody can interact with everybody else on an even playing level.
Yeah.
And I love that.
And then the deep dives have been great. A lot of great deeper dives. I did my deeper dive on notes and had some great interaction. A lot of people weren't aware about Microsoft OneNote, which was kind of neat. And that's, I just said that with Chuck. I said, when you put these presentations together, and especially doing stuff on iOS, you kind of assume people know stuff, but they don't, and that's what's great about it. And I got to take that mindset out whenever I do a presentation. Even though I know it, and I've talked about it so many times, I know that I'm going to have at least maybe 2 or 3 people that are going to say, oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but what's interesting about you're very similar to me in regards to you like to get into that nitty gritty. In your case, it's iOS.
Yeah.
In my case, it's the Mac.
Right.
But we like to dig down into it. And if someone asks us a question, how do I do this? If we don't know the answer, we go find it out.
Whether
and we retain that knowledge.
Retain the knowledge and seek it out from. A lot of times there were a couple questions that I didn't know. No, I did touch a little bit about Notability. I don't know Notability as well as I should.
Right.
I know, but there were. I knew there were some experts in the audience.
I bet you will by next year.
I will now, yeah, because just people were asking me because there are a lot of things it can do, and some people that are heavy Notability users. Again, when I did the presentation, I had to narrow it down. There were so many iOS apps that are out there for taking notes, and
oh my gosh,
that's why I'm glad. I mean, originally when I proposed it to you, I said, I'm going to do this one and this one and this one. No, what am I doing? 3 are plenty.
Focus on
the primary one, which is Apple Notes, and people are going to be happy. We're happy with what they got. With iOS 13 coming out, I mean, I think Apple's going to come out with some great new features for the Notes app, especially being able to collaborate with a folder as opposed to a single note. And a lot of people I've talked to are going to be super happy about that. So it's a lot more things Apple's starting to see with that. But OneNote was aimed more towards the enterprise, but I think more people are seeing that.
More people are picking that one up.
Yeah.
And you dissed Evernote, but I'm an Evernote user.
I want to defend myself that a little bit on it. I mean, because I knew some people are just not happy with Evernote, and I think it's not necessarily because of what the product is.
It's more about
so
how the company's run.
How the company had been run. The CEO kind of made a mess of things. The business model, how they charge it for it, and they still don't give you enough of storage and support of it based on what they do charge you, which, because I originally I wanted to try it out, and I did, and then
they just raised the price too.
And they raised the price again, so it's just, I don't get it. But that's the thing. They think they can get away with that because there's like you and many others, which is fine. I mean, people still like Evernote.
At the moment, I'm kind of locked into it. I got all these notes in it.
And that's what a lot of it. Dave Hamilton said that to me earlier. He says, "Yeah, I'm kind of locked into it too." But if I were to start tomorrow, I would probably tell someone, if you want as much power as Evernote does, probably OneNote will probably be the choice.
Yeah, I do a fair amount in Apple Notes though.
Yeah, we all do.
And it's there's certain things I put in there, certain things I have a whole Macstock set of notes in Apple Notes. It just works really well to be in there when I'm doing it. But Evernote is kind of like, to me, and I suppose OneNote would be the same thing. It's that auxiliary brain.
Right.
It's like I just throw everything in there, whereas Apple Notes is more the stuff I know I'm going to need frequently, kind of a thing.
Well, again, Mike, thanks so much for all of your hard work with organizing this event in 5 years. It's just, like I said, it seems like yesterday. The event will just continue to go on and evolve, and you got a lot of great people that come here every year, and I'm looking forward to year 6. And I mean, we're going to be there soon. And
it's going to be here before we know it.
And look forward to more great presentations and great networking. And like I said, we talked about this. Many people have talked about this, and the networking piece of it is just the biggest of it all.
Absolutely.
I've made a lot of friends here, which I'm so happy about, and then a lot of people just coming up to me asking questions, and that's what your entire goal with this conference is to having that ability that these folks that attend can just walk up to any speaker and be able to just feel comfortable to ask them questions.
Any speaker, any attendee, anybody, you can just walk right up to them and start a conversation.
So
there's an immediate commonality.
Thanks, Mike. We're going to wrap this up and look forward to the end of the conference. Unfortunately, it's sad. But thanks for being here, Mike. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
This is In Touch with iOS live in Macstock 2019. Thanks for listening, and we'll have more interviews soon. Welcome to In Touch with iOS. I am live at Macstock 2019, and I've been interviewing lots of the great people I know and have been on the show before, and this is no exception. Welcome to Kelly Gumont. How are you, Kelly? I'm so glad you're back.
I'm doing well, Dave. How are you? It's really nice to be back.
I know, and we love that you're here and came out. It's such a great show, isn't it? We've just had nothing but a blast this weekend.
It's so much fun.
And it just makes it worth it all by itself, just coming out here and seeing all our friends and networking and learning and all that stuff, don't you think?
It really is, like, I say this all the time. This is like the saddest thing about Macworld going away, and part of the reason that this sort of came out of the aftermath of the utter lack of Macworld. Part of what makes in-person conferences great is the hallway track. It will always be the hallway track. It will be randomly bumping into somebody and saying, hi, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's chat. And, and like social media has changed some of that because like, at Macworld, you used to sort of have to have like 2 appointments with everybody. Because the first one would be like, okay, what have you been up to for the last year? Because we haven't spoken since I saw you at Macworld last year. Yeah. And then the second one would be like, let's talk about the show. Let's talk about current events. Like now that we've caught up, like let's have this other conversation. And it was like a whole thing where you had to sort of make 2 laps around all the people that you knew so that you could like catch up with everybody. And social media has made it a lot easier to sort of keep up during the year. And so, like I went to one conference, I'd had foot surgery. And I talked about it on Twitter and stuff. So instead of getting there and having to say 900 times to people, like, I had foot surgery, like everybody knew. And so instead of like having that conversation 900 times, like everybody was just like, how's your feet? Okay, I just need to not walk.
Maybe I should have done that with my legs.
Now I need to just not walk forever. And so see, and that was the thing about it, and being up, like, cause I had, I had pins in my feet and got the pins out, and that was the thing. And so I had to like limit how much standing around I was doing. And so every once in a while, and like it was also helpful because people being aware of that made it very easy to be like, do you need a chair? Yeah. Like, if there's going to be a long line, like I'll go wait and I'll let you know when I get closer up and you can come join me so that you don't have to stand here. Things like that. So like, like just the little accommodations that people can make like in those sorts of cases is great. But also like all the people that come here are super duper great in some fascinating way, right? And then and then randomly getting to meet other people and finding out this person does a thing, or this you hear somebody casually mentions like when I worked at NASA or whatever, and you're like, wait, I'm sorry, what?
You went at NASA?
Yeah, and and just getting and everybody here, like this is really this conference is really representative of the Apple community to me. It is. In that so many people who are here for the first year are just I would just sort of assumed they were like they'd been here the entire time, because like everyone here is really welcoming and really friendly, and all you have to do to be accepted is show up.
Exactly.
That's really and like be cool. Like, I mean, there is that, like,
yeah, and Mike Potter and I just talked about it. I said I'm just blown away how many new faces are here.
Yeah, me too.
First time been here. It's like and just kudos to David Sparks, because MPU Mac Power Users, I think, really drove a lot of the great fans of that show to this conference, which is awesome. And people are seeing that it's more than just it's all levels, and it's going from beginning all the way down to advanced. I mean, there's no place that we throw people out, because it's impossible to put a conference at a level of where people learn. So
like yesterday, David talked about having that map of what an episode of MPU looks like, and it's a basically like a 45-degree angle line right through the middle, like we start at the beginning and then more and more and more. And I feel like this conference is that way too. Like we get the higher level talks, and then there's deeper dives in the afternoon, so you sort of get a sample in the morning of like, what am I going to do this afternoon, and you figure out like which ones are the things you want to go and see and find out more about, and then you can follow up. And like the best part is like in the aftermath, like after that talk has happened, you can go up and be like, Josh, I really need to talk to you about Paprika. David, I really need to talk to you about email. Or like, I went to Brett and I was like, you mentioned the name of that app that you were using, and I need to find out what it is. And and he told me
all the speakers are approachable. That's what's beautiful.
And like that, like the follow up piece of it is also really great. But like, there's no like velvet rope here, right? Like there's no like anybody that wants to can come up,
have lunch together, and people walk up and you hey, can I eat? Have you sit down with you? And that's how I got comfortable with everybody, and that's how everybody else is going to feel that way when they come here too.
Yeah, it's so great. The in person is so important.
Then as far as iOS goes, there was. And I even said that to Mike, and I guess he kind of set me straight, and I think I agree with it. There is going to be a little bit of iOS discussion in a lot of the presentations that we had this weekend. I mean, the two primary ones that are obviously the one I did, which was about notes, and then Rick Cartwright did the one on videos with using his iPad and iOS and all that. So really, a lot of people got a lot of great information out from both those presentations, and I got, as I've been saying, a lot of great feedback on it. So I'm very happy about that.
I'm looking forward actually to seeing the presentation about video on iOS. I had to miss it because I was working on video on iOS.
I thought it's going on at 4 o'clock today, isn't it?
Oh, well, no, I mean this morning.
Oh, this morning.
Like the slide comes up and it's like creating compelling video content on iOS, and I'm like, I have to leave because I have to sit in the hallway and edit my compelling content on iOS. Your compelling content. So literally. This afternoon.
We got the breakout in 10. We're going to finish up here in 10 minutes. We're going to be able to see it.
So the thing that you need to know is that the thing that the later you will see the output of that project, and it is literally the first video I ever put together on iOS.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah. And specifically with iMovie. I did one other video in iMovie.
Yeah, and he wasn't saying so good things about iMovie, so because Luna Vision was the one that his is the video that we talked about. So.
I've heard about it. I've heard of that one. I did. Well, and when I say like I did a video in iMovie, I took video of my house at Halloween, like walking through all the stuff, and added music to it. Music underneath, and that's like the extent of my iMovie experience until today.
All right, so you're now a master. We're gonna see the
best work. Look forward to my presentation at Macstock 2020 about using iMovie
so
on
now
the
you're
iPad
gonna be inspired to do it. Get back on the saddle and do a presentation again.
Yes,
but we had a lot of great discussions about iOS. Not necessarily those two, the two presentations. Ulysses, there was descriptions with Mike and Brett. I think
Mike and Brett both talked about it. Yeah,
hit upon it as well. I missed some of those presentations, so I can't wait to go back to the videos for those. The things that I didn't see. I didn't see Josh's either, so I wanted to see. So I heard his 244 slides he went through in 17 minutes. So
it was pretty spectacular.
That's pretty impressive. So I'll have to go back and see that.
I feel like we got the one presentation from Chuck Joyner about terrible presentations.
We talked about,
and Josh's was great. And so I feel like next year Josh needs to come tell us how to make our presentations awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because his slideshow was impressive.
Yeah. OWC has been here. What a great sponsor, our platinum sponsor.
So great
people. I got to actually do a tour of the warehouse and the offices on Friday, and they were just so happy to talk to the folks here that they've been here all weekend. They're very happy about being here and how much supportive we are of them, and they're just a great piece of the Apple community as far as the products they provide. So then learning about using your iPad and being able to connect the dock that they have to your iPad Pro and even more powerful ways of copying files and such. That's going to be coming in iPad OS and iOS 13.
Yeah, that dock looks super cool. Like, it's funny. I have an iPad Pro, but it's a Lightning.
Yeah.
It's the one right before they went USB-C, and I was always totally happy with it. Like, I was happy with the speed, I'm happy with the pencil, I'm happy with the interaction, size. Like, I love everything about it. And then I come here, and OWC has this table full of awesome stuff you can connect to your iPad if you have USB-C. And I'm like, and it's the first time, like, all new iPads came out. They do all this other stuff. You can plug in all these things, and I didn't care until OWC was like, look at all the stuff we have that you could do that with them. Like, I need a new iPad.
Yeah, unfortunately, and even the guy Chris mentioned in the breakout session about the USB-C devices. They're not going to come up with anything for Lightning because it's just the way proprietary way it is of being able to manage files. You'll have to use the dongle if you want to continue on with your Lightning device. So it's been a great conference. Loved every bit of it. I'm so glad I was able to talk to a bunch of you during the conference and bring back some great interviews with everybody from on the podcast. So, anything else you think of that stood out to you with the show before we wrap it up?
Just sort of the not really the random connections, but like the unexpected things that happen. Like last night.
Yeah.
Over at the bar next to the hotel, the restaurant next to the hotel, the Bulldog. Like, A couple of regular attendees became the punchline as we were playing Quiplash.
I saw Chuck Joyner and Guy Searle's name come up a few times in that Quiplash, I'll leave it at that.
That's all you need to know. And but like the things that sort of just come out of that, I had to miss the game show yesterday, but apparently I came up because there was something karaoke related.
Oh, yes, you did.
And so
I was there.
But the random stuff that happens, people come together. There was there's a girl here. Her name is Lydia, and she came up to me this afternoon and said, can I still submit a film to the film festival? And she did this amazing video that's her sketchnoting live.
I was sitting there with Chuck when he was interviewing her. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and she's awesome. And this is her first.
Years old.
She's 16. This is her first Macstock, and she's here and digging it. And a thing that I love, which did you talk to Allison already?
No. I may not be able to get to talk to Allison. She's been too busy.
I know. She's a real social butterfly.
She is.
I have video of that from last night, by the way, that you should really see.
We're gonna be seeing.
She knew I was filming video, by the way, just for the record. Lydia and I aren't the only female people here, and
I saw that this morning.
There's a lot.
It was great to see that, actually.
and it doesn't feel weird, and so I'm sort of excited for her that she came here and isn't the only girl, and which, as you know, is always a subject near to my heart. And
I was very proud to see that.
It was really great
people stand up and say, hey.
Yeah, Allison got a really nice panorama this morning of all of us standing up, which was great.
And how can I not mention Rosemary Orchard? She's amazing. I mean, the work
clothes. Oh man,
she did for shortcuts. What a smart gal. And that's the first time I've met her for the very first time this year. So
and her perspective on that, and the way that she takes shortcuts, and most people when they describe shortcuts, at least in casual conversation and stuff, when I talk to people, is intimidating.
It is. And I was kind of intimidated because
it's overwhelming. It's really because it you start with nothing, and all anyone tells you about shortcuts is you can do anything, and that is a really hard breach to cross. And so she makes it so approachable.
She did.
And starts with stuff that's really basic, and then turns it into something a little better. And she does it. The thing that it reminded me of yesterday watching her whip that up was Salsa Goyen, when he used to do the Apple script stuff. And how he would start and he would be like, everybody can do this, and then he's like, so then you do this, right? Pretty easy, right? And then he makes everything this is a small basic step. He's it's the same thing that she does, where she's able to break everything down into now you have to tell it, go open Safari, okay, I understand that. I can parse that, whatever, and then, okay, now you tell it, do this. You do that. Yeah, actually I can, and when you get someone like that really makes it seem like you could actually use shortcuts, you could actually do, that's always really gratifying. And it's nice to have her on the scene, hanging out with all of us and making those things possible. Cause every single person here that I've talked to has been like, oh my God, Siri shortcuts. Now I can finally do something with it. I've wanted to and had no clue where to start. And now I've got a direction, and that's really spectacular.
And that's another testament to this conference. She traveled all the way from Austria. She lives in Austria.
She's from Austria.
Yeah. We've had, it's a worldwide conference. So she did great, and really it was really great to see some of the things that she did as well. Yeah. Well, anyway, it was great to see you. I'm so happy you came back on the show again. We'll do another episode soon.
Yes.
I've got all the episodes lined up. I was a little bit of a break here, but I'm glad everybody was able to come on, and that's fine. We can. That's what's great about podcasts. You get to do them when you got to do them.
Yeah.
So, but thanks for being here. I really appreciate it, Kelly.
Oh, no problem at all. Anytime you like.
All right. This is In Touch with iOS. I'm live at Macstock 2019. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay, well, that's a wrap. We had a lot of great interviews. I hope you enjoyed the show. A lot of fun discussion about Macstock 2019 and technology, and it was a lot of fun. And hope to talk with all these folks again soon with all kinds of different topics that's coming soon, because we got a lot of other great things that are going to be happening with the release of iOS 13 and so many other things. So we'll definitely look for some great things into the future here. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, Macstock 2020. Yeah, I'm already talking about Macstock 2020. It's going to be next year, and it's July 25th, 26th. We'll be talking about it as obviously as it gets closer, but I wanted to mention that. And let's wrap this episode up here. And that is a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can also follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, and TuneIn Radio. Or better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter @DaveG65. Thanks again for joining me for the show. This was a lot of fun, and we hope we'll have another show coming up soon with more great guests. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.